Crime is everywhere and constantly on the rise. Quick and easy cases are solved daily, but what of those more sinister and cold cases that remain to be solved? Join host Ashley and Candi as they dive into the horror of some of these cases and shed some light on what is truly behind the realm of darkness. Now, here are your hosts of Realm of Darkness, Ashley Marino and Candi Howard.
Hello, guys. I hope you are having a great day. We are super excited about tonight's show. We have an incredible guest and a mentor of mine and somebody who I think is going to really be able to share some light and shed some light on things that maybe people just aren't sure about. We're going to be taking a little bit of a change. We're not doing true crime tonight. We're going to be doing witchcraft and demonology and occult and Ouija boards and all the fun things that we all question. So I am super excited, and let's go ahead and welcome our guest, Phoenix.
Hey
Hello,
guys.
how are you?
Hey guys, how you doing?
We're great. We are so excited to have you.
I'm excited to be on.
Already have questions pouring in. Things that people want to know, questions, just shedding some light on the truth and the false things of witchcraft and demonology. So let's just get right into it. Let's talk the biggest issue in the paranormal world right now, demons.
Okay. So demons are real, first off. Angels and demons are real, yes. They're real occult beings, but they're not what you see in Supernatural or Good Omens or any of those other TV shows. Angels, I don't know what I can say, so pardon my French. I call them dicks with wings, like Dean from Supernatural, because to be honest, that's what they are. And it's not that they're that way for bad reason. But if you go to an angel and say, hey, I need $600 so I can pay rent this month, they're going to make you get a job that you hate, and then you're going to leave that job and have all these other issues accompanied with that for your growth. Now, if you go to a demon and say, hey, I need $600 for rent so I can, not be homeless, they're going to say, what can you give me in return? If you can specify a contract with them that is reasonable to both parties and you agree to it, as long as you hold your end up, you're fine. And if you don't hold your end up, the worst thing that happens is they're just not going to deliver. So that rent money, you now have to find a different way. Demons don't possess people. Short, plain and simple. They don't possess. I mean, they could, but I don't know why they would.
Yeah. So the idea of watching, Supernatural, because that tends to be the big show everyone compares it to. Mm-hmm. It's completely, would you say it's false to walk to the middle of a crossroad, bury a box, kiss a demon, and in 10 years you have hellhounds coming for you?
Entirely unrealistic. That actually comes from the Grimoire Magick tradition. Now, I practice that. And specifically, they're mentioning the deal with Lucifuge Raphael. That's the original demon at the crossroads who makes your pact, right? And that gets back to the Faustian tradition. There's a whole string of grimoires and offshoots of all that too. The main idea is basically, you make a deal with the devil for your soul in 25, 30, 50 years, however long they specify for X, Y, and Z, right? You're not going to make a deal at the devil at the crossroads. You're not going to bury, a little 50s tin box full of some strange black chicken foot, Yeah, you can do that for hoodoo purposes, but that's more like a curse. That's not necessarily summoning a demon at a crossroads to make a deal. That stuff doesn't, yes, you could do that ritual there and be successful, but just the act of doing that, it's not real.
And is that something that, anybody can do, or somebody that does practice witchcraft and practice the occult would be more likely?
So the problem that we're having today is there's a lot of information out there, and that's great. compared to when I started 15 years ago, I kind of screwed myself. I started with a book that was written over 100 years prior by a guy by the name of Arthur Edward Waite, who did the original tarot, or not the original, but the most popular tarot deck that we know today. But it was basically on all these grimoires. And I didn't know what I was doing. And I did it successfully, but I really screwed myself. I had to undo a lot of bad stuff because I didn't know what I was doing. So yeah, I mean, people that practice the occult, sure, they do it. I know they do. I do it. But that doesn't mean that it's happening day in and day out like you're led to believe.
Yeah. So with somebody who is interested, as myself, because I do want to let everyone know that, you have been my mentor for months now, and we've really began getting into kind of Witchcraft 101 and learning the true and false of demons and things of that nature. So if there was someone who is out there and they're trying to research and they're on TikTok and Google, where's a good part or a good part for them to start looking to really learn the correct knowledge?
Well, so there's a lot of different variants of the correct knowledge too. And that's, again, part of this problem of all this mass media stuff is, you walk into Barnes and Noble or not Borders, but Books A Million, that we have those here in Ohio. And about 30% of what you see on the shelf is probably good. The rest of it is just kind of like mass market stuff that maybe, I don't know. You find that on the internet too, and there's a lot of misinformation. You got to check your sources. Honestly, I'm a big fan of the paper book, but anything that is written or published by like Samuel Weiser Publishing or Red Wheel, Destiny Books, or Llewellyn Publications, those are going to be more in line with your traditional occult thinking. Anything else, I can't attest to the quality.
Right. And so when you first got into it and you started really kind of diving in and finding your own, because, so one of the big things that we always hear is, yes, there's things out there that you can learn, but you have to make it your own and put your own spin on it and your own intentions and things like that. How did you know what type of witch you wanted to be and what type of sorcerer and what you wanted to study? How did you find like kind of your niche?
That's a hard question. Because I've been doing it for so long,
Yeah.
To think back that long. So I started out studying Stragaria, which is typically South Italian witchcraft, and it's typically based on Etruscan deities, not Roman. I'm not going to get into the big mythology there, but basically the gods and goddesses are comparable. I started off with that, and then I kind of went all over the place. I studied Celtic Wicca, Druidry, and then I got into Ceremonial Magick, Qabalah, Crowley. I did go left-hand path for a little bit into like Satanism, which is using the Egyptian god Set as like your Lucifer illuminator type of figure. I've studied and practiced Luciferianism too. I understand both hands. You kind of have to use both hands, just like I've taught you, Ashley. The middle path, that crooked path that kind of convalesces between both is that fuzzy gray line that a lot of people stick in. There's no pure black and white in the occult view, as much as they might want you to think that they're.
I've seen.
Sorry if that doesn't answer the question.
No, it does.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of that, I've really seen lately kind of this big surge of everyone calling themselves a gray witch, because you had the delineation of, well, I'm a dark witch or I'm a white witch or, but to me, it makes the most amount of sense. Nothing in nature is black and white. Nothing. Everything is responsible for your own good and evil. That in itself is free will. You make you choose your own path. So to me, that makes perfect sense.
Well, and I think too, and Phoenix, you can definitely elaborate on this, is I think when you say, a light witch or a dark witch, people instantly go to good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
You're with the angels and God, or you're with the devil and the demons. Mm-hmm. And that's just not the way it works.
No, it's not. I myself am a pagan, so I'm a polytheist pagan. I believe in many, many different deities. In my world, there are thousands of them. I pull from all the different pantheons, mainly Greco-Egyptian period, but either way, there's lessons in all of them. It's really hard to kind of put it all together because even a lot of these demons that you're seeing in, like, for instance, the Goetia, which is part of the Key of Solomon, right? There's 5 main grimoires in that big book, and there's 72 demons in there, and most of them were Philistine, Canaanite, Hittite, Assyrian, Babylonian, Mesopotamian gods and goddesses, including big ones like Astaroth, including Lilith, including Azazel, including Baal, including Belial, even Moloch. You get into these mythological names of like Satan and everything in later studies of like Judaism and Christianity. You start to see those were all just Middle Eastern gods and goddesses that basically stood against the cult of Yahweh, which was the predecessor to the cult of Christ when that all started in the late 200s AD. So, tracing across pantheons, you kind of see a lot of similar themes, minus the Celtic and Norse. Those two kind of have their own themes, not to take anything away from your Greek or your Roman or, even your Egyptian or African, Middle Eastern deities, but they all kind of have a similar theme. And I think it's because they all, when you hear Proto-Indo-European religion, well, it all kind of sourced in one spot, and it all kind of harkens back even to like Hinduism, partially. If you look at the source of Hecate, my main goddess, she started out in Turkey. So it's just kind of funny to see that it's a lot more gray than people think. It is not all angels and demons. It's not God and Satan. I don't believe in a being named Satan. I think he's more of an egregore, so to say, and we can talk about that. But Lucifer's a real being, but Satan, he's more bark than bite, let's say.
No, and I love that. Let's go down that path, because I think, especially, I'm paranormal investigator and really big into the paranormal world, and so is Candi. One of the things that we come across a lot is when something feels negative or something feels unhappy, we'll say, people tend to forget that you have good people and you have bad people. You have happy people and you have nasty people. And they instantly, some shows instantly jump to demons. And it's a demon. They're going to kill you. They're going to possess you. And not that I'm saying demons are, puppies and rainbows, but I think that religion, and being Catholic, I feel like I can say this, religion has really given them a bad name. I feel the paranormal world, especially with some of the shows out there, it almost makes people fear them for the idea of they're going to possess me, I'm going to die, pure exorcist style. So let's talk about that. And like, is that truly what you've come across in your studies, or are people just Hollywooding it up and scaring the hell out of their families?
It's a mixed bag. I'm never going to say nothing is impossible. I will never say anything is impossible. We live in a universe of infinite possibilities. I could say that the sun tomorrow is going to implode, and you know what? It might not. We don't know. But I hope it doesn't. But here we are. That being said, I'm an unhappy spirit as human. I have yet to come across at least a major player of a demon, right? One of the ones that we have a name for that's cataloged.
Right.
Those, if you think about it, they're really just like a hierarchy. It's like a nobleman class. You've got your kings, your marquises, your earls, your knights. It's a hierarchy. They're businessmen. They don't care about us and our affairs, right? Only until we drag them into it.
Yeah. So they're not hiding in abandoned haunted locations waiting for us to break out pendulums.
No. And
as sad as a lot of people are going to be.
If something comes, and I've done investigations too, right? I've had things that claim to be demons that aren't. Number one, shadow people. Yeah, they're real, but they're not what you think. If you're seeing a man with a tall hat, I'm sorry to burst your bubble. That is an egregore. And that's from somebody who does a lot of astral travel on the other side. I speak with spirits all the time. I just want to understand what's going on out there, because people are talking about this stuff and I'm like, what is this? Because, I try to summon Slenderman into my scrying mirror, I get nothing. You know, it's an egregore. So egregores are basically the idea that you put so much energy into a thought or an idea, a concept. So let's say Satan, right? That's probably the most, you know, well-known demon name there is. Now, in Hebrew, Satan means the adversary, he who opposes. It's not an actual name. But because modern Christianity, and I say modern loosely because it's been about 1,000 years, give or take, has taken that name and applied and mixed it with Lucifer now. So we've kind of got that mess to untangle. But Satan really just means the adversary, he who opposes. Now, in the times that all the Bible is written, especially the Old Testament, the adversary was basically the people, the pagans in the area, whether it was ancient Egyptians or Mesopotamia, wherever they were, that was the adversary, right? So you kind of have to take off the literal lens that a lot of people look at the Bible and look at it more as like a myth. Now, and I'm not degrading Christians or anybody that's of any faith, right? You can believe what you want to believe. But if you just step back for a minute and look at it that way, it kind of demystifies this. Now, what we're dealing with now with the whole Satan thing is this proto spirit, if you will, that basically has taken on all the nastiness of humanity, right? The devil made me do it. The devil made me do it. That's the whole idea of the egregore of Satan. It's not that he's necessarily always been in existence. It's just his name was spoken to enough and attributed to enough heinous things that energy then stuck itself and created its own being, if you will.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think, you know, I have never, and I mean, I grew up born and raised Catholic, but I've never felt that Satan was a person per se. I always felt that it was just the darkest parts of every individual. And, you know, there's people, and we have intrusive thoughts, you know, all of us do. It's just some of us act on it and some of us don't. Not that I'm saying, you know, we're all thinking about murder or nothing like that. But I mean, we have those like weird thoughts like, oh, I wonder if I, you know, just wrecks my car, what would happen? And I just feel it's like it's those parts. And over time, people have just misconstrued it. And especially in the paranormal world, I mean, any type of energy that's negative in any way, shape, or form, even the slightest, it's, oh God, it's a demon. Oh, we're going to get possessed. We're going to get hurt. We're going to get scratched. And I don't think they really care.
I've been scratched. I mean, I've had my back scratched 3 times, you know, even during the daytime. But the difference is that's not a demon. That's just a pissed off spirit, really. You know, there's a big difference between the two. Demons are, I don't want to say lazy, but for lack of a better term, they are simply because they don't want to exert energy unless they're getting something out of it. And I mean, I can agree with that. I can identify with that.
And what do you think drives them?
What's that?
And what do you think does drive them? Not that we want to conjure anything up, but everyone always says, you know, it's sex, money, and riches.
That. I mean, if you are summoning a demon, if you're going through that whole ritual to do that, and there's a lot of prep work that goes into it, right? It's not just, you know, today's the day of Saturn, and I'm going to do it during the hour of Saturn. You know, you have a bunch of other preliminary requirements. You can't just put a salt circle around yourself, draw a couple of cool looking sigils, and think you conjure up, you know, Beelzebub. That's not how it works. There's a whole process to it, and most times they don't even come when you call them. You have to nag them, basically. You have to blow their phone up, so to speak.
Yeah.
But even then, you know, the main thing that demons really want is the human experience. They want the carnal pleasures. So tobacco, alcohol, food, sex offerings. I've had Lilith, and I'll talk about her. Yes, she's real. For those of you that are asking, she's real. Her and Lucifer are both real. We'll just get that out of the way now. But I've had Lilith. You know, she's associated as the incubus, succubus demon and this and that throughout history too. But, you know, she does have her sex aspect. And, you know, she's asked for offerings in the realm of, you know, something in the bedroom. And that was interesting. But I got what I wanted. So,
but
I guess
they do keep their word. I mean, not that I want to say they're noble, but they keep their word. They're a person of their word, I guess.
Yeah, the spirit of their word.
What you said before, like in the aspect of looking at them, it's a business transaction. It's a contractual, just business transaction. They don't care about you. They don't care about your little feelings. They don't have feelings. They don't care. It's you scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Yep.
That's all it ever has been.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny, since we're talking along the lines of darkness, or what people would consider darkness, like Hecate, that's one of the ones that I am very drawn to, and I always have been. And, she is tied to like the underworld. So when you say that, people assume that she's negative and she, again, is evil, but she's a protector. And, and there's just so much knowledge out there. Not knowledge. I'm going to say there's a lot of knowledge, but there's a lot of BS. And I think people get it twisted and they see these drawings and paintings that make her look a little intimidating, but she's a protector and she needs to be scary. And, and that's why I'm so glad you're on, because you're clearing up things that I think people have gone years just misinformed.
If you hear of a pagan deity that is associated with the underworld, darkness, night, sorcery, any of the things that Hollywood, at the very least, and to some point the media, portrays as evil or twisted, or, you lose your humanity, your soul, whatever the case is, I can attest you don't. I've been working with Hecate since I started my journey. I've been working with Hades and Persephone for about just as long. I'm here to tell you they're not going to harm you. Again, they're not concerned about our petty little emotions. Do they want you to be better? Do they want you to grow and heal, become the best person you can be? Absolutely. Excellence is number one on my list as far as spiritual attainment goes. But at the same time, we're also human, and deity most of the time recognizes, hey, you're human. And you know what? The Greek gods and goddesses especially, I'll tell you what, they got some emotions. Don't make Zeus mad. Do not make Zeus mad. It's not a good idea.
Yeah. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We will be right back, and we'll be talking more with Phoenix on witchcraft, occult, and all the things you guys want to know. So we'll be right back. If you're just joining us, welcome back to those who have been here. If you're just joining us, we are sitting with Phoenix. He has been practicing witchcraft, occult. He knows tarot. He knows Ouija boards. He knows practically anything and anything paranormal that you want to know. This is your guy. We were just talking about who you do not want to make angry. So let's go ahead and continue with that.
From personal experience, I can tell you, I did piss off Zeus one time, many moons ago. A couple hundred, so it's been a while. But nonetheless, I did make him pretty mad. And let's just say my love life turned upside down for about 7 years, and that coincided with me breaking a mirror. So the old superstition about breaking a mirror, I think, is true. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it's true. from 2012 to 2019, it was pretty rocky.
Yeah, that's definitely not something anybody wants to. Yeah, no, Zeus mad. Okay, number one on the list. Don't make Zeus mad.
So we do have a comment in the comment section that noticed that we're all wearing necklaces, and they kind of want us to tell what our necklaces mean and why we have them on. Phoenix, I would like you to go last because there is a necklace of yours that I know that we want to talk about, and we want to clear up some things that may be floating around social media. So Candi, why don't you go first?
So this is my favorite one. So this is a tree of life, and it is moss agate. It's a really pretty piece of moss agate. So I actually was in one of my very, very favorite stores, and this one just kind of was like screaming at me continuously. And so I had to pick it up. The tree of life is very important to me. Through my ancestry, I'm an animist. I'm an indigenous person, so everything has a spirit. Everything comes from the earth. The earth is where, you know, all life comes from, but we come from the stars. So, and you know, moss agate can have a lot of protective energies, healing energies, and if you connect, I feel like if you connect with a crystal and you resonate with it, then that's what you're meant to have. But if you don't connect with it, then it's not meant for you. Ashley.
So I'm not wearing any of my cool stuff because they're all currently sitting in my jar. So ever since I was little, I have always worn a cross. Like I said, I was born and raised Catholic. I don't necessarily agree with all the things the church has to say, but I do believe in God. I believe in angels and demons and all of that. So I've always had a cross. And this cross is one that my husband bought me when we first started dating. So.
Very nice. You know, the symbolism of getting it as a gift, especially from your husband, that's actually extra protective.
See, and I've had it for 12 years now.
See?
Never take it off.
So my jewelry changes day to day. Today, I kind of try to go along with planetary days. That's the basic idea that there's the 7 traditional planets in classical astrology: the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, right? Today's the day of Jupiter, so Zeus, right? I actually have a Zeus pendant on, so this is a lightning bolt for Zeus. And then I've been working with some Egyptian deities lately. This is Horus. It's also Sky God. So Sky God's Day, Thor would be another thing. And then the last one here, this is Libyan gold tektite or Libyan desert glass. For those of you who are on TikTok, and I am too, I haven't done a video in a while. But anyway, you probably have heard of it as well as moldavite. And I know that this has been going on since about right before the pandemic, if not during the pandemic for sure. Moldavite prices have skyrocketed only because demand has grown. Before this craze hit with moldavite and all the different tektites and stuff, moldavite was pretty affordable, generally speaking. But the danger with moldavite is it can actually turn your world completely upside down if you're not ready for it. It works through the heart chakra, so your heart center. So if you're in a relationship that's kind of rocky, guess what? You might lose it. It's gonna do it's gonna turn everything upside down, ultimately for your highest good, but it's not fun. Not if you're not ready for it. If you want to mess around with like tektites and stuff, start with like a common tektite. It's just a little black stone. It looks kind of funky. It's just a part of a meteorite. That's all that tektites are. Moldavite is found in one part of the world. Libyan desert glass is found in Libya and Egypt. So they're typically in a locale, right? But normal tektite is just, it's like baby steps. If you want to do that, that's fine. Go on the wild ride. I encourage it. Do what's best for your soul. But if you're not ready for everything to be turned upside down, if you haven't done the shadow work necessary, then you might not like the results.
Yeah, been there, done that.
Yeah.
jumped in head first with 2 pieces of moldavite. They were gifted to me, in my defense.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
That was my second divorce.
Well, and then going along the lines of crystals, I know some of the other questions that we got, which I don't know if this would go more along crystal protection, witchcraft, and kind of tying them together, is, we do have a lot of viewers and friends that are into the paranormal and reaching out to spirits. And they want to know what's a good way to kind of shield themselves or protect themselves so that they're not feeling drained and that their energy is not being invaded and taken.
Right. So the first thing is, if you really feel that unsafe, you probably shouldn't be doing the investigation. I've been known to stir the pot. That's my style. I'll piss something off until it makes something happen, but that's me. Again, I've been working with the other side, so I kind of, I have like literally holy water in my pocket sometimes, so I'm just ready to go. Dale Gribble with the pocket sand, but it's holy water. But there's tons of crystals that are readily available that are inexpensive that you can carry. Just get a little satin bag or something. Black tourmaline. Black tourmaline's my number one. It is the most protective crystal you will find. You can get it tumbled. You can get it raw. It comes with mica or selenite, and there's all different colors of tourmaline. Just get the black. That's all you need for protection. Black obsidian is going to be another one. Black obsidians are great. What's another one? Tiger's eye is more of a protection while traveling. So if you're worried that something might follow you home and mess with your car, well, maybe tiger's eye might be the way to go. Jet, but black tourmaline and obsidian are probably my top 2. Shungite can do it. There's another one called bronzite. It's kind of it flashes like bronze. So, but these are all readily available and costs $5 or under usually.
And is there anything specific or special? I know some people soak it in moon water, some people soak them in salt. Now, with that, I know guys listening, you have to be careful because there are some crystals that are damaged by salt, and there's some crystals that can be damaged by water. So make sure you do your research before you try to cleanse them. But is there a ritual or something that you would recommend for someone going into, we'll say, sketchy areas?
Right. So, first off, if it ends in ite, I-T-E, then most likely it's going to dissolve in water, and you probably shouldn't put it in. Selenite's number 1. Selenite is literally like solidified salt, so it'll just dissolve in water over time. But that being said, get loose leaf white sage or frankincense and myrrh, anything like that, or even just your normal run-of-the-mill hem dragon's blood incense, something like that, and just light it with the intent that you're going to cleanse this and just run it through the smoke. I don't run my crystals through water. I don't do water on crystals. I'm paranoid about them. They cost too much. So for me to just be throwing them out all the time. So I do smoke cleansing. Now, if that's going to bother you, I know they make like smudge sprays. If you absolutely have to, you could run a tourmaline underwater. Tourmaline and obsidian should be safe underwater. And then just hold it, hold it in your dominant hand and just say, creature of earth, I need you to protect me when I go into this place, because I'll be honest, I'm kind of afraid. There's been times where even I've been afraid of some of the stuff I've come up against.
So, and with that, do you believe that spirit guides are a true thing and are also another form of protection? People say you can talk to your spirit guides and tell them to walk with you, not behind you, and those type of things. Is that another form that they could use?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Spirit guides, guardian angels, deities, whoever you feel empowered, your ancestors, even. There's a lot of people that I know that work, a loose form of conjure, and they just call them their ancestors, and they produce amazing results that, even some of the most powerful witches that I know, I don't know that they could replicate that. So it's really what you're comfortable with. If you know that your grandma's hanging on with you, then, hey, ask grandma to help you. She'll protect you.
Yeah.
What she got to lose, she already did.
That's true. That is true. And you're right. And, for anybody that's looking for these crystals or these incense or things like that, you can find them online. Make sure you're again, doing your research, finding the right places. I have to plug it because there is this incredible store right down the road from my house, which is actually where I met Phoenix. And I actually have, my whole little, goodie bag of things. But you know, there's a lot of local apothecaries and metaphysical shops. So just do your research, look for the right places. And most people that work there are pretty knowledgeable. If not, I can tell you, like I said, Phoenix has been mentoring me for a couple months and I've learned so much from him. We did put his website in the chat before the show started. So you can always reach out to him on any of his socials. You can sign up. He does do mentoring classes, virtual or in person if you're from our area in Ohio. So that's another resource you have. Clearly, he knows what he's talking about. I can vouch for that. But anybody who is looking for mentoring, like I know when we first met, we actually met at kind of like a psychic fair. Mm-hmm. And kind of funny story about it is when Candi and I bought our tickets, we weren't even supposed to be there. We were just randomly going into shops and we walked in there and we bought tickets to do a reading. And, you know, there was a ton of people there and they had all these sheets and I was like, I don't know. And I just like closed my eyes and picked one and it was you. And the reading that you gave me was so incredibly spot on. I've met a lot of mediums and psychics in our line of work and none of them have been as accurate and on point as you have.
Thank you.
So, I mean, that was incredible. There was somebody else there that we got a reading from. We'll leave names out of it. Once she found out that I had gone to you, she shut down and like didn't say anything else after that, which was pretty entertaining. But if somebody is looking for readings or, you know, just guidance, you know, let them know some of the different things that you offer.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do post, you know, on my social media, I post the daily astrology forecast for one. So, and I explain it in a way that is free from most of the astrological jargon. Most people don't know what the hell the ninth house is or what it does. They don't understand what Pluto does in astrology, and they don't understand what it's squaring the moon actually means. Yeah. They just think, okay, so it's making a shape. What? I explain what that actually means for you. I give times, you know, I give you the signs, and then I even do like a tarot card of the day, kind of just like, you know, here's how today's going to go. I haven't lately, but I'll do, you know, daily posts like Tarot Tuesdays, like tarot tips and stuff like that. I'll do like a deity of the week. I'll do love readings, all kinds of stuff. But, you know, I do astrology readings. I do tarot. I read palms. I do Lenormand, oracles. I do all kinds of stuff. If you need guidance, if you need clarity, that's what I'm here for. If you need advice on your spiritual path, that's what I'm here for. For whatever reason, was put here to guide people. So that's what I'm offering to everyone is, you know, my knowledge.
No, and it's incredible because, like I said, we weren't even supposed to be in that area, that store, nothing. We were actually heading to an investigation. Our friend was running late. And we're like, oh, let's run to Dunkin'. And then while we were there, we're like, oh, let's pick up some crystals. Let's Google a shop. And we ended up in that shop at the right time. I mean, I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. One of the things that I'm excited that you do that I can't wait until we get into it in our sessions is conjuring and Ouija boards and spirit boards and all of that. I know that we did mention in kind of the Facebook post that you were going to kind of give a short lesson on the proper ways to open, communicate, and close a Ouija board. I think that is one of the things in the field that people get wrong and they don't know how to close it. And then, you know, there's possibilities for all kinds of issues. So if you want to talk a little bit about that and how people should prep themselves and the safe way of actually doing it properly.
Absolutely. So rule number one is set and setting. And what I mean by that is, are you in the right headspace? Okay, if you're feeling depressed, anxious, if you're scared, it's not the right time. You need to step away from it and don't open any doors that you don't know how to close. A lot of the occult, a lot of the other side, it is more mental, it is more psychological than anything. The mind is much more powerful than what people want to give it credit for, right? Mm-hmm. They say that we only use 12% of our brains. Well, when you start opening gateways, when you start opening that third eye, start tuning in, you start to use a little more. At least that's my theory. That being said, are you in a safe place? All right. So if you're not in a safe place, if you're doing an investigation, then maybe you need to put a ring of salt around you. Maybe, you need to do a prayer to whatever deity or angel or whoever for protection. You could call down Horus or Zeus or whoever, Hecate even. You got to go in there with an open mind too. You might not run into who you think you will, especially if it's around like Halloween time and the veil's really thin. Sometimes your ancestors don't come through. Sometimes it's just a local spirit saying hi. The other thing is you always want someone with you. A rule of thumb is you want someone with you. Now, if you can do it alone, but you should be comfortable and make sure that you're safe and have protective measures, whether that's salting, on the table or putting salt around you or incense, whatever you need to feel comfortable. And then, to demonstrate here, let me move the camera and I'll kind of get my board going.
And while he's setting up, if anybody has questions, throw them in the comments. We'll be able to read them and we can ask him for you. So if you have questions, comments, anything that's not clear, just drop it in the comments for us.
Okay, I think that's about the best I can get it right there.
Yeah.
So I always start with my planchette, which is this piece right here in the middle. Okay, it's not open. Now to open it, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set my hands on the board and I'm going to ground myself. Basically, I'm going to see an eggshell of white light around my body, protecting me. It's divine energy, and my feet are growing roots into the ground. I'm going to take 3 deep breaths, and then when I've done that and I feel grounded and centered, I'm going to put my dominant hand on the planchette and my receiving hand either on my leg or on the other end of the table here, and I'm going to start to do a spiraling motion from the center out, going clockwise. This is warming the board while also opening it. Now, if you don't have a board like mine that's circular, but more of a square, like a Ouija board shape, that's fine. You can just kind of move it back and forth like this, but I'm going to just keep going here and open up my board. And then when I feel like it's warmed up and ready to go, I'm just going to stick the planchette in the center here. And now the board's open, it's warmed up, it's ready to go. I can make contact. Now, I'm here in the parlor at the shop that I read at, that Ashley and I met at, and I'm just going to ask a quick question if there's anybody here, because I know there are. Is there anybody here that can at least help me demonstrate the board? Okay, thank you. And then when I get my answer, I generally don't even have to ask, but the planchette will get moved back. Now, if the spirit doesn't want to move the planchette back, that's fine. You're going to feel like a cold chill here, right? That's the spirit trying to push your hand. You have to be open to the spirit too. You can't be so guarded that you can't let them in. There is a point where you have to let them control at least one arm. And that's fine. That's how you're going to communicate. Now, I know who this is, but I'm just going to say this. Is this Charlie? Because I'm pretty sure this is who that is. And it says yes. So it's Charlie. It's spirit here at the apothecary. And so, see, we're moving back. Now, I'm done. So thank you, Charlie. Thank you, whoever else came. Now, to close it, your board is always going to say goodbye. Now, mine's right here. I'm going to take my planchette, and I'm going to go over the goodbye. That's me saying goodbye. First off, that's setting intent. I'm telling all the spirits I'm done. Goodbye. So if you get into a tense session, just put that planchette over goodbye. It doesn't mean that they'll leave you alone, but at least you've closed it for the time being. Now, to close it back up, I'm going to return to the center, and now I'm going to start making counterclockwise. So when you go clockwise, you're opening a door. When you go counterclockwise, you're sealing a door. This is a lot like in witchcraft when we cast our circles. We go clockwise to open, counterclockwise to seal. And now I'm sealed, and I return to the center, and I'm going to finish by putting my hands back on the board and grounding so that I am grounded and I'm free of any attachments. 3 deep breaths, and I'm done.
That's incredible.
And that is the basic 101 of how to do a seance with a spirit board. Again, if you have nasty, entities, it might not go according to plan. So I would make sure you have sage, salt, holy water, things like that. Just make sure you're safe. Iron filing or iron shavings, that's another good one. Iron stops a lot of spirits, so you can circle yourself with like iron shavings or whatever. Things like that.
So I do have a question, because
Sure.
I love how you said that you're going to possibly feel cold going up your arm and things. I think one of the misconceptions is people think that they'll have their hands on the planchette and you will feel it pushing from a different angle. Does that ever happen, or is it they're always going to use you as the guide?
Depends on you, depends on the spirit. How open are you? I'm generally pretty open. I can kind of sense out at this point in my practices what I want and what I don't want around me. Naturally, things that I don't want around me just kind of ricochet off.
Okay.
They don't even want to mess with me. But in the sense of just, if you're on a paranormal investigation and you're having problems, again, get those protective symbols out, get that salt out, get whatever you can. And yeah, you're going to feel a cold chill. Sometimes you get nothing. Sometimes they just don't want to talk. Other times there will be jumbled messages and it'll just be a string of letters that make absolutely no sense until later. And then you realize it was a big anagram and you got to, shuffle letters around, and it takes a minute. That's the important thing about, recording your sessions, whether you're doing it on an investigation or just at home because you want to try it. Record, whether it's video, audio, or somebody writing it down. You want to keep these messages because you've opened a door, you've gotten a message, and it very well might be pertinent, or you might need the message later on if by chance maybe you let something through you shouldn't have and it's messing with you. There could be a clue in that message, right? Very rarely does a spirit or an entity do something without giving you some kind of clue as to what the end game is or what the tactic might be, something.
No, and we do have a good question in the comments. They want to know, is it okay or is it not okay to leave the planchette on the board?
It's okay. As long as you have a closed board, you're fine. Now, if you have it open and just trying to think of a place, Mansfield Reformatory here in Ohio, I know that place has some nasty stuff, right? I've been there. I've been scratched there during the daytime. So there's some seriously nasty stuff there. But, say you're investigating there and you have the board open and you just leave the planchette because you heard rustling down on the other end of the cell block, right? You can leave it there, but I would have somebody watching it because if that thing starts moving, I've never seen it happen. But again, infinite possibilities in this universe.
Now, if there's, say, there's a location that I've investigated, and with actually somebody who's in the comments as well, Monroe House. So it is known to be very dark, have some dark entities. People do believe that there's a demon there. And there are probably 3 or 4 different Ouija boards there. And people come in, they play with them. I'm assuming more than likely they don't really know what they're doing, and they leave them open. Is that a possibility of just multiple doorways being open in a location, possibly making the haunting worse?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I did an investigation where there was an entity that was giving a friend of mine's little boy problems for over a year, right? I finally had to trap this spirit, do a spirit trap. But yeah, an open spirit board can let anything through. Angel, demon, spirit, doesn't matter.
You don't have to be present for that. See, and this is why you have to be careful with what you're playing with. It's not just a toy.
If you go to these locations that are supposedly haunted and you're going to mess around with a Ouija board, I mean, you might get something on you. It's very likely too, and just the medium part of me at least, or the psychic part of me, I should say, is kind of feeling like those are portals, and there's a lot of things like that out there that just freely let things in and out as they please. Some would say that's the natural order. Some would say they all need closed. I kind of fall in between. Don't open something you don't need to, but if it's been open, well, maybe just leave it.
And does that possibly make locations more dangerous for investigators going in? I've investigated Monroe with a friend of mine, Jim and his wife and a couple other members. And there, like I said, there were multiple Ouija boards. I doubt they were closed. And we got some great responses, but we did get some nasty responses. And now because of that, we do have to go into that location a little bit more guarded because we don't know what people are bringing in.
Absolutely. Yeah, it can make locations much more active. You know, the house where that little boy was being terrified, she had a Ouija board that she had no idea what was done with it, and she had to get rid of it because that was the source, right? Another thing with Ouija boards is this Zozo demon. That's another egregore. That's not an actual demon.
Yeah.
If you look in, you know, any dictionary type or encyclopedia of demons, Zozo's nowhere to be found. It's a recent thing. It's, again, the egregore type of effect. So if that happens, then just know that you're dealing with an egregore, and all you have to do is close up the board, salt, sage, you're done. You're good.
Now, if somebody does come in across something that's a little bit more negative, I know a lot of investigators that will just start, I don't want to say yelling at it, but being very forceful and saying, you are not welcome. You cannot follow me home. You are not allowed to be here. Does that work? Or are we just in our minds believing that us being a little more forceful is going to make it stay?
Depends on what it is. There's a variety of possibilities. If you think it's truly, truly dark and heinous, then probably not. I think sometimes it's comical watching people yell at this spirit because, I'll be honest, it's going to do whatever the hell it wants to do. The only thing you can do is make it get away from you. And you know, I'm just as guilty as anybody else. I've done investigations, and I am the type to provoke something that I know is nasty, and to the point where there's things being thrown across the room, right? But again, you know, I know where to draw the line, and I think that's where a lot of people go wrong is instantly you feel a bad presence or a dark presence, and you don't understand it. You're intimidated, so then you get defensive. It's a natural human response. Try to override that just a minute and hear it out, because sometimes it might just be an angry spirit that just wants to be let go and to cross over. It's not necessarily going to follow you home if you help it.
Yeah, and I do. I think I'm not against kind of getting a little rough with them. I do think that it leaves people like us a little more vulnerable because there are people that are closed off, closed-minded, that go in, they start screaming and yelling, not realizing that there are spiritual people that are going to be affected by it, and it's going to affect us a little bit more.
Absolutely.
I hate to say that our time is starting to come to an end, and I'm really sad about it. If there's any other questions that you guys want to drop in the comments really fast, we have about 2 to 3 minutes. Anything that maybe we didn't cover or anything that you want to ask him. And then I guess just closing thoughts is, you know, give your Facebook and your website where people can find you. I know that if there are attachments, you're also able to help people with that. So if people are needing help, where can they find you?
Well, you can find me on my Facebook. I believe that they put my Linktree link in the comments there. My Linktree is going to have my Facebook, my Instagram. I don't know if it has my TikTok. Either way, you can find my TikTok on my other socials. It's going to have my retail, so to speak, website, and then it's going to have my blog. I just started a blog not long ago. It's a work in process. I only have one post up. But you can find me on that Linktree link. You can follow my Facebook and Insta. You know, I do the daily posts. And you can contact me there. You can go to my website. And, you know, if there's a service there that you have a question about, feel free to message me. I'm willing to clarify anything that, you know, and someone doesn't understand. There's no wrong questions here.
Yeah, and if for some reason you guys aren't able to find him, reach out to me. Like I said, I have all of his information. I can give that to you. If you are looking for mentoring sessions or just kind of learning a little bit more, reach out to him. Like I said, he's a mentor of mine, and it's been great. I've really enjoyed it, and I've really enjoyed learning the origins of witchcraft and how it kind of started and became about and all of that. I mean, it's so much more than what you see out on social media, and it's hard to explain. It makes a lot of sense, and it really makes you see things from a different side.
Much different side, yeah.
So with that, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I absolutely plan on having you back because I feel like we could just talk for hours about all kinds of different things. For everyone watching, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.